Gonna kiss up and rub up and fill up. Kiss up and rub up and fill up on you all night.
We have a crisis in this country.
We literally are starving.
Y'all work in order to survive. Y'all don't work in order to enjoy yourselves. And unfortunately, that's the way that the system is set up.
So you're saying I need a nice house, car, and wife to reach the American dream? Uh-huh. And you know that a lot of California homes cost $1 million and a nice car is worth around $50,000. Yep. So with my average $50,000 job, it's going to take me 21 years to make $1,050,000. Mm-hmm. And this is assuming I don't pay any taxes and buy anything at all. Like, you know, food. Sounds about right. You can do it.
Where are you from?
From Poland.
Do you believe in American dream?
No, I don't believe in the American dream.
May I ask you why?
I think that the American dream was real a couple of years ago, but now it's not the same.
And what do you think changed that you, for example, don't believe it in anymore?
The President of the United States, Donald Trump, and politics. I guess the war in Afghanistan, that's the reason.
Dziękuję serdecznie.
Dziękujemy bardzo. Have a nice day.
What's a scam that's become so normalized that we don't even realize it's a scam anymore?
The American dream. You get up at 5 in the morning, rush to be out of the house at 5:30, try to make it to work at 6. You work a 12-hour shift. In those 12 hours, you take crap from your managers and coworkers. You eat at whatever time they say that you can eat for the amount of time that you can eat. You have sick days, but if you use them, it's frowned upon. So if you want to aspire to be anything within the company, try not to use them. Then you work until you're 62 years old. You pay bills until you die, and you're expected to be grateful. Forgive me, but that it doesn't make any sense. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful that I can go out to work to provide for my house. In fact, the Bible says that he who does not work should also not eat. So I'm in favor of hard work. What I'm not in favor of, though, is abuse. People putting their jobs in factories before their own health. When they don't need you anymore, you're gone. But if you want to leave, you better put in those 2 weeks. So yeah, it's a scam.
So this week we're talking about the American dream. And so you might ask, what is the American dream? Well, it looks like work to me. It's a lot of work, right? With this, to achieve this American dream, it's working 60, 70, 80, 100,000 million gazillion hours a day in order to just make ends meet. And so it's pulling yourself up by your bootstraps when you don't even have boots, let alone straps. Is working hard and is trying to achieve this arbitrary dream that someone else cooked up and created for you. Maybe you found out about this dream through your parents or at school. Everyone is pushing this dream to go to school, to get a good job, to get married, have 2 children and a dog. Or is it 2.5 children and a dog, or is it 3 dogs? I don't know. It changes. It's about marketing, and it's about advertising. It's about buying and spending and buying and spending more and more and more. And it's about making other people rich and wealthy. So what is the American dream? Is this ethos, right? And set of standards by the U.S. and ideas around democracy, rights, liberty, opportunity, equality, and social mobility that don't exist. They don't really exist because they're not there for everyone. This American dream, Malcolm X says, is a nightmare. And not everyone is able to achieve it unless you're the 1%. Want to learn more about the American dream? Please go over to my YouTube channel, and we're going to discuss this fully. There's only so much that I could do, unfortunately, in these small limited clips here on TikTok, but we can really discuss it. I've got a whole video where we could talk about this at Sanal in my channel over on YouTube. So please come subscribe and please come join me over there, because we need to discuss more about the American dream.
We ain't the richest, but we getting by. By no means is our paper touching the sky. Disguised as middle class living, a family, husband, wife, 3 children. Ain't this the American dream? Meddling with Benjamins, the big money schemes. Now the evidence is telling us it ain't what it seems. You get a mortgage, a car note, and less of the green. Where are the streets paved with gold? You know the sweet tales you're told when you're anticipating migrating. They never tell you about the migraines that your mind gains when the bills pile up in this great nation. And don't you think it's funny the way they say that money makes the world go round, round, round? Well, can I ask this? Will it pause on its axis? Cause the economy's going down, down, down.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent.
So that video went viral this week, and it's all about a parent who's talking about how the American dream is disappearing. And I would like to suggest that maybe the American dream was never real. And I want to share a story that involves one of the creators of this myth, an author by the name of Horatio Algiers, who I would say is one part Jeff Epstein and one part Michael Jackson. So this is Horatio Algiers, and he is a pretty famous author who wrote a number of books that would be classified as rags to riches. He was very prominent between the early 1900s and the 1930s, which was the Great Depression, if you can remember. So a lot of people were feeling a lot of despair, and his books were actually considered to be a fantasy, and the fantasy was rags to riches. Now, he himself wasn't a very rich man, but he was very connected, including having a great something father who was the actual captain of the Mayflower, and had another great something who was at the Constitution signing. Damn, those people look hella white, ghost white. So anyway, he started off as a teacher, but he had to end that career because it turns out he liked touching little boys. And the only way we know this is because he actually confessed, which actually made his dad very mad, and his dad intervened on his behalf. Again, when you have relatives that have done this, you are able to get yourself out of some shit. So then Horatio Algiers needs to come up with something new to do. So he decides to write a couple of novels, and I will show you some of the titles, including the one that he became the most famous for, which is why we have the term bootstrapping. So this was one of the most popular books around the turn of the century. It was called the Ragged Dick series. So in the Ragged Dick series, the most prominent character is who you see here, who was a boot cleaner. I can't remember what his name is. Let's call him Tom. So Tom is a boot cleaner. He's an orphan. He's down and out on his luck. He's outside the Capitol every day, shining all of these rich men's shoes. And then one day, one special wealthy man takes interest in him and decides to invite Tom to parties to clean the shoes of the super rich. For some reason, this is the breakthrough that Tom needs, and Tom becomes super successful. He lifted himself up through his own bootstraps. Yeah, that's the whole story. That's where we get bootstrapping and the idea of self-reliance, and that you can move up in economic mobility. It's a relatively new idea, and it was based off a bunch of fantasy books from a guy who was a literal pedophile. Let's go through some of the other books he wrote. Finding Fortune, about twins. Again, they were orphans, and they meet a very wealthy school teacher who gives them a scholarship. School teacher being male. Another title, Strive and Succeed, about a young man who worked at a golf course, and then he meets a wealthy old man, and he becomes really wealthy teaching golf. This one's called From Farm to Fortune. I think you get how the book works. So now he has some money, and he decides that he wants to spend his free time hanging out at playgrounds and at orphanages, and then adopted 3 10-year-old boys. And then invited other boys to live with him. Yeah, so bootstrapping was based on a fantasy book in which a young boy makes money because he meets a rich man and cleans their boots, thus pulling himself up from his bootstraps, based on an author that actually touched kids. But I guess there is some positive. Apparently, he left a ton of money to help people in spite of adversity and gives over $1 million of scholarships every year. Yeah, the American dream, it was never real.
I think we're in a happiness slump in America.
Ooh, I will tell you, one of the most profound reasons, I think, is because everybody is looking at other people's social.
I don't think there's enough time to unpack all of this. So if you haven't seen the original video, go find the Oprah interview on the other TikTok channel, because I can't stitch it because it's from an actual news program, and then come back. Now that you're back, Oprah, honey, let's talk Aquarius to Aquarius. Not only just Aquarius to Aquarius, but we have the same birthday. Social media envy and keeping up with the Joneses is not why there is a happiness slump in America. But I'm going to give you my opinion as someone that's been around for a while and that, you know, is like in the real world and not, you know, like a Brazilianaire who's like, you know, real life right now. So first things first is a lot of people are waking up to all the bullshit that a lot of you guys, you know, the very, very wealthy, the very, very famous, and also our government fed us about a lot of things. If you go to school, you go to college, you'll make good money, you'll have a great life, blah, 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 buy the house, blah, blah, all this other kind of bullshit. Well, for a lot of people who decided to go to college, I was one of the lucky ones because it was inexpensive enough for my mom and dad to pay for it all, and I didn't have to have student loans. But for others, they're paying on their student loans and they can't buy a house or have kids or start their own business and, you know, potentially have, you know, the American dream and not have to work for big corporations that don't want to pay you shit and treat you like shit. And a lot of kids that were pushed into going to college didn't make it because they weren't built for college, and instead of pushing them into some sort of trade training or college or you know, vocational school, now they are in jobs that pay so low that was originally created for young kids, teenagers, to be able to get work experience. Now they're working those jobs and can't make ends meet. Moms and dads are stressed out because they're wondering how they're going to pay their bills, how they're going to work all these hours, and also be there for their kids to help them with their homework and support them in whatever other activities that are going on. But even a lot of kids aren't and cannot be involved in outside activities to feel connected to a community or a school because their mom and dad are working too much. And so the kid ultimately sits at home and plays on video games and scrolls through social media and sees all the amazing life that's going on that they don't get to have. We are stressed to the gills, and it's not because of social media envy. It is because we were sold a crock of shit years ago, and because we thought that we could trust you and that you had our best interest at heart, and that we, like, if we listened to the government or these big, you know, movie stars or whatever, and we went that path or that direction. Some of us went our own path and didn't want to listen because we don't trust you in the first place. We would be good because that's what you told us. Remember, we're all in this together, you know, while you could still pay your bills and have your multiple houses and, you know, stay in place. Everybody else was wondering how they were going to pay their bills. Now we're all figuring out it was a crock of shit, and we're all going through buyer's remorse. Is really honestly where I think we're at right now. We bought into your bullshit, and now we're kicking ourselves in the ass for fucking listening to you. I think I think we're done.
Do you believe in American dream?
I think it's starting to collapse for a lot of people. I think it's only accessible for the wealthy people nowadays. I think times are going to get pretty hard for middle class and working people.
Can you define American dream, what it is?
I think the American dream would be able to own a home, live comfortably, have a family, not have to live paycheck to paycheck, and I don't think that's a reality for a lot of Americans right now.
What do you think is collapsing? What changed?
Because you have a lot of greedy people who don't want to share, don't care about anyone but themselves, unfortunately.
I think I speak for everyone when I say homemade pizza is way better than store-bought pizza, especially if it's made in your car. So here I have a tortilla. We're gonna base it with mayonnaise. And you want it to be even to get that mayonnaise in every single bite. Some pizza seasoning. Cheese, and don't worry, some cheeses can last without being refrigerated. And I think this is one of them. String cheese. Cheddar. For me, the cheese typically lasts like 2 weeks without refrigeration. Then we're gonna add our pepperoni. These ones are my favorite. I get them from Walmart. Yes, the bag says refrigerate after opening, same thing on the cheese. But trust me guys, it will last at least 2 weeks. I wouldn't really keep it longer than 2 weeks. So we're gonna add the pepperoni. Now if you know me, I love garlic, so we're gonna add some raw garlic. Lastly, I have some cherry tomatoes that I picked from someone's backyard. And there you have it. I hope you could see it well. We have pizza made in a car with no oven, no refrigeration, just items that I had in my car. And I'm sure you can make this in your car as well. Bone apple tea. Way better than Little Caesars.
Let me tell you what's wild about life right now. Don't nothing make sense. Shit ain't made sense since pandemic. I realized that today because, you know, I'm an entertainer and we're in the middle of a writing, actor, producer, shut the fuck up strike. So I'm back trying to push my own business and find jobs. But today was the first time I ever realized you could get scammed trying to get a job. You could be on LinkedIn, Indeed, Upwork, any of these sites, and it's all a bunch of scammers on there. People just being like, I love your resume. We would love to interview you. Just for them to get you on an interview so they can get your information and rob your ass. I damn near got an interview for a job and was on a Zoom, baby. As soon as I got on a Zoom, I was like, oh, this is a scammer. Clicked off. You can't even be excited that you got a job interview no more. That's where we at. The American dream is over. All that idea of having a stable job and a husband and kids, child, please. Everybody that's married, hate being married. Everybody with kids, hate their kids. What is life? It don't make no sense. I mean, we all was wondering, was there aliens? They finally here and we don't care. That's how hard stuff is. It's so hard outside that we all trying to find an answer. That's why every week we like, it's a new moon, it's a retrograde, walk through the portal. We trying to motivate each other to stay woke and have faith. It's so bad. It's crazy to me what's going on in the world right now. I feel like at this point, spend that last dime. Buy them shoes, girl. Wear that tight ass dress. Drink that expensive bottle of wine. Cook that bomb ass dinner for yourself because we are living in our last days. Ain't no answer. Everybody like, well, maybe I should get a second job or go back to school. No, baby, it's over. Just have a good time. Just have a good time. Buy that outfit, go outside, look fly, Be whatever character you want to be for the night. Go home, go to sleep, and do another character tomorrow. Because it's over. It's definitely over. I remember before pandemic, you know, if shit got tight, you would get a little side job, figure it out, glow up. You can't, like I said, can't even get a side job because you could get scammed. I remember dating people and having a good time. You can't even have a good time because you scared that the man you dating could be a scam. It's wild. You like having goals in 2023 is a laughter. It's a joke. Just be who you want to be, honey. Do what you want to do. Wear what you want to wear. Talk how you want to talk. It all doesn't matter. It's over and tomorrow. Shit. Maui done burned down. They robbing everybody. They running in the stores, taking everything. Child, we living in Gotham City, but ain't no Batman. Ain't nobody coming to save us. Just do what you can do while you can.
Gonna kiss up and rub up and fill up. Kiss up and rub up and fill up on you.